Thursday, October 12th, 2023, 7:03 p.m. Karibuni nyote. Give a little bit of time for more people to join. The right one's on TikTok, right? Gladys, this is TikTok, right?
No, that's IG, and the couple one on TikTok.
Okay. Okay, karibu everyone on TikTok and IG, Facebook. I see you all. Abdul Fatah, I see you. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for tuning in this evening. This one looks like it's about to drop off of the clamp. Okay. I hope you can all see and hear me well. Again, my name is Solomon Wangwe, founder, MD of Goshen Acquisitions Limited, as well as its wholly owned subsidiary, Goshen Acquisitions, or rather Grand Acres. So Goshen Acquisitions is a holding company for Grand Acres Limited. For those of you who wonder what's the difference between the two, they are one and the same. Grand Acres is also a registered trademark of Goshen Acquisitions. So we use the two names interchangeably for that reason. And I'm glad for the opportunity to have our weekly Thursday live. We missed our Tuesday because of the public holiday. I couldn't keep the team in the office on that day. We had to celebrate the Utamaduni Day holiday. So here we are. Without much further ado, please, if you know someone who would benefit from today's session, as always, question and answer, send them through, share the link to this live event with them as quickly as possible so they don't miss out on anything. And I invite you all to send in your questions, comments, commentary, complaints, compliments, whatever might be on your mind pertaining to land and property investments here in Kenya, where we've been doing it for 12 years, 12 and a half now. And it's from that experience that we offer our perspectives, answers, guides, or guidance with regards to your questions or commentary. And if we don't know, when we do not have the answer for you, we will find out for you. So please send in your questions and let's get started. It's 7 minutes. We'll keep going until at least 8 p.m. as usual. Richie Ngash, I see you. Thank you for tuning in. Sidon Gad and _ Wakonyo _ I see you. Tidal Wave, I see you on TikTok. If you would, guys, please, if you don't mind, just let us know what city you're joining us from. We always like to know where our community is at. Even if you're outside of the country, well, especially if you're outside of Kenya, just let us know what city you're in, and that will bless us. I see a question, which I will read on the big screen to my right. So if I stay away from the camera, that's what I'm doing. Don't be alarmed. Awesome. Gladys has upgraded herself today. She gave me a screen right in front of me. Thank you, Gladys. I have a team here with me. You never see them because they're behind the one-eyed monsters that we use to shoot. So again, if I address someone off camera, that's who I'm talking to. I'm not seeing invisible people in the room. Robert Muniri on Facebook, thank you for tuning in. Your comment reads as follows: talk about properties acquired through auction and the process of finally getting the title, cost, and timelines. Well, Robert, I do not have much experience with auction purchase properties. I have attended one or two auctions in the 12 years we've been doing this. Most recent one was for a property in Nakuru County in Naivasha, fairly large property, 1,800 acres with historical significance. And in general, the process is exactly the same as a conventional transaction, apart from the auction itself, where the person, typically a bank or a government entity, would auction off to the highest bidder with reserve pricing. Obviously, they have a target that they're trying to collect, so they would have reserves, meaning if they don't get a bid that is at the reserve price or higher, then they do not have to sell to whoever has the highest bid. Okay, that's what reserve bid price is. And once that is done, a deposit would be required, typically 10%, or depending on the value of the transaction, they'll require even much less. I've seen some as little as 3% to initiate or book the winning bid. And then the rest of the process would happen exactly the same way it normally would, because it is a legal transaction on a property, nevertheless. Now, I should point out one thing though. Legally speaking, courts passed judgment some time ago. It's been around for a while, where especially banks are not allowed to auction off properties for too little, even if that is all they were owed or are willing to accept. If a bank has a first right or first lien position to auction a property to make themselves whole, a law or policy was introduced that they have to collect as close to the market rate as possible so as not to disenfranchise the borrower. Meaning, as an example, property is worth 10 million shillings. The borrower or the person being auctioned only owed 2 million shillings, but they can't pay, so the bank forecloses and proceeds to auction off the property. The bank is not allowed to auction the property off for the 2 million that they're trying to collect, because that is too low compared to the market rate, and in essence denies the person being auctioned or the borrower benefit of the equity they have built over time. That is valuable equity or cash equivalent that could go a long way to benefit the distressed person being auctioned. So the law or the policy says they have to collect as close to 10 million as possible, so that they keep their 2 million and the balance goes to the person they have auctioned. Hope that makes sense. But that's as far as we've had experience with auctions. I pray I never have any more. It's an unpleasant situation, especially for the people being auctioned, and they tend to be messy. I've also heard in some instances, actually from banking insiders, where a lot of the auctions, particularly for very prime and desirable properties, are done for ceremonial purposes only, because the deal was already done internally before the actual auction, where the people who have knowledge of the distress situation would make deals with the bank directly and simply carry out the auction as a matter of ceremony when someone had already made a deal. This is hearsay. I'm not, I haven't interacted materially with such a transaction, but I've heard it enough times from decent folk over the years that there must be some truth to that. Where there's a fire, where there's a smoke, rather, there must be a fire of some sort. So there you go, Robert Muniri. Thank you for your question. I hope I've helped in some way. A good person to speak to would be your banker, because they are the primary auctioneers, or auctioners, I should say, and would be able to guide you in more detail. So all the best. Sidon Gad. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. You're watching us from Instagram. Thank you so much. You're watching us from Tallinn, Estonia. Awesome. Estonia is on my bucket list of places I must visit in my youth, not when I'm old. So Saidungat says, talk about land rates. Who does it apply to? Rural/urban. Um, Saidungat, that's a good question. It doesn't matter whether it's rural or urban. What matters is a tenure, meaning is it leasehold or freehold. Land rates are payable only, well, I should say mostly for leasehold properties. Counties today are levying rates, annual rates, because rates are paid to the county, rents are paid to the national government. Freehold land is supposed to be free. You're not supposed to be paying either rates or rent. But we have found in certain counties where they are charging rates even for freehold land. Whether it's rural or urban doesn't matter. And leasehold, obviously, both rates and rents would apply. We have seen leasehold properties in rural parts of Kenya because they were owned by a foreign national. Rates would apply. Obviously, for urban areas, most property would be leasehold, therefore rates would apply. So it's less about rural urban, but more to do with the tenure, the ownership tenure. Is it freehold or leasehold? Whereas in some counties, whether or not it's freehold or leasehold, they do charge rates. Some counties do not charge rates for freehold land, some do. So that is it in a nutshell. And thank you for your question. Tidal wave on TikTok. Kindly explain the Ardhi Sasa system. Well, tidal wave, Ardhi Sasa is a name the Ministry of Lands, Urban Planning, and Housing has named their digital platform. Ardhi Sasa obviously is Swahili for land now. Okay, and the idea is to expedite or streamline land transactions, registry transactions, kill the delays, kill any speed bumps along the way, remove any blockages, hopefully reduce corruption, and increase or further guarantee the sanctity of documentation by digitizing. And that's what the Ministry of Lands has called their digital process, digitization movement is Ardhisasa. It's a website you can go to, tons of information. The title conversion process, which is mostly affecting Nairobi right now, as mandated by the Constitution, is also clearly highlighted there. So that's what Ardhisasa is. It's not really a system per se. It's an agenda to digitize and streamline land transactions and registry transactions, making them faster and more efficient. That's what the RDD SASA platform is about. I hope that helps. Thank you for your question. Shylax on TikTok. I'm still struggling with renewing our leases. Okay. Where can I find the RIM for a leasehold indenture? Leasehold indenture. Okay. Well, RIMs are applicable either way. Although if the property is in an urban area, chances are what you have other than a registry index map is a deed map. Okay. Deed maps are for fixed survey properties, meaning their boundaries are fixed to GPS coordinates, immovable, there's no margin of error. Whereas general boundaries tend to be under freehold. And a lot of those happen to be agricultural. And those you will have registry index maps for. For those under fixed survey, what you have instead of RIMs is deed maps. Okay, there's a difference. If you're not sure which one applies to your property, please consult a surveyor. Have them look at your documents. They'll be able to tell you fairly quickly. And if you don't have either one of those documents for your property, they can go to the relevant office, the Department of Survey office, and requisition one for you. Make sure it's a certified copy, pay the required fee, keep a receipt, and make sure the surveyor stamps it for the day that you paid as an authentic copy of the original. That is what certification means. Don't just get a copy, make sure it's certified, and your records will be complete. Thank you for your question, Shylax. I hope that helps. P. Matatu on WhatsApp says, I want to buy land na bank loan. Please, how much is evaluation charges and transfer and charge? Okay, you want to buy land using a bank loan. Banks will typically require the property to be valued. The valuation must be done by a valuer who is on their list of approved professionals on their panel. It's the term they typically use. What the valuer charges will depend on the valuer themselves. There are guidelines. It's a small percentage of the actual value of the property, but it varies depending on whether or not you're using a brand name like Knight Frank or a lesser known valuer. The charges would vary. Also, the type of property being valued, the type of valuation, will it involve looking at rental income, yield of a property that's producing rent versus freehold agricultural land that's not being utilized or producing or generating any income? All those factors will determine what they charge you for valuation. So have them provide you a quotation. Transfer and charge. Transfer will depend on the tenure. If it's leasehold, it's 4% is the stamp duty. If it's freehold, the stamp duty is 2%. Straightforward, fairly simple. For charging, there's a government fee for charging, which is very minimal. It's hundreds or a couple thousand shillings. But the bank will need to pay legal fees to an advocate who will undertake that process. Therefore, legal fees to an advocate would apply. Have your bank provide you the fee note for their legal officer to do that work so that you're sure. Again, like with valuers, the fee charged by the professional will depend on which professional. Are they a brand name? Are they well known to have long experience? Are they a lesser known individual or professional? The remuneration order issued by the Law Society of Kenya provides a guideline depending on value. For instance, anything valued in terms of a transaction valued at 1 shilling to 5 million, the professional is supposed to charge you no less than 2%, forgive me, 2% of that value as their professional fee. In addition to that, they will add VAT at 16% of that fee. And then they will charge you a third item, which is what they call disbursements in general. And that will vary depending on the professional. So have your bank provide you a full list of the costs beforehand so that you're prepared. A lot of banks, what they'll do is wrap those costs into the loan that they're giving you so that what you ultimately get from the bank is less all these fees, unless they require you to pay or you prefer to pay those outside of the loan that's being advanced to you. So hope that helps. Himatatu, all success to you. Ramadan Noor on TikTok. Hey, Ramadan, thank you for joining. You say, can you add your properties on your Ardhi Sasa for land outside Nairobi? I'm not sure that is possible yet, Ramadan. In terms of which properties would be contained or uploaded, if you will, onto the Ardhi Sasa platform is up to the Ministry of Lands as opposed to yourself. You can attempt to do searches on your properties outside of Nairobi on Ardhi Sasa. Whether or not it generates a report will depend on whether or not Ministry of Lands has uploaded the details to that property onto their digital platform, right? So that is up to the Ministry of Lands, not you. If in doubt, go visit the offices, Ministry of Lands offices. They can advise you further, or visit the website. They do have a Q&A section, and on occasion they have live chats. 90% of the time no one responses, but you could give it a try. When they do, they are quite informative, and you can get more details there. Thank you for that question. Kiki on WhatsApp. Thank you for watching, Kiki. I want to inquire if you have any plans for someone with a low income. Absolutely, Kiki. We are always racking our brains to make our products as affordable as possible within our control, because much of that does not depend on us. We have restrictions we have to work within, like the market rates, market dynamics, legal restrictions on how small we can subdivide land, whether or not we are required to add value for approvals to subdivide, and what the value or the cost of those value additions are, which will ultimately determine what we offer our product for. So, yes, we're always trying. Again, low income, I think, is subjective. Please, if you can give us a range to work with, that might be helpful. Low income for one person is not necessarily the same for another. So let us know if you can. Ramadan Noor again says, what is the smallest parcel that can be titled? Man, I have seen title deeds to plots of land that are 40 by 60, 40 foot by 60 foot. So depends on the county and the county restrictions for sizes, which are also related to the use of the land. Commercial properties typically can go to smaller sizes than other users, especially if they're road fronting, if it's a densely populated area, and that sort of thing. It'll depend on the county. After the promulgation of the Constitution and the policies started to take shape within the Ministry of Lands with regards to physical planning and urbanization, which is managed under the Physical and Land Use Planning Act. FLUPA 2019 is the latest version that we are subject to. The county governments are in charge of deciding use of land within the jurisdiction, and therefore size restrictions or requirements. So depending on the county, the minimum size will depend, also relating to the use or the zoning. So find out for your jurisdiction. A registered planner would be helpful in advising you, because they can interrogate with the county and find out what the policies are for the specific county. Kajiado County, for instance, has recently launched a spatial plan, integrated spatial plan, which stipulates what areas can be used for what purposes and the minimum size requirements. Not all counties have one. So by and large, we rely very heavily on the licensed professionals to dig through county office records and guide us so that we don't go afoul of county policy. So it depends, Ramadan. Find out for your county. We out of questions already? Yeah.
There's one here, but I don't know what they mean.
I see a question here from Paul Muiruri. Grand Acres Limited, where are you stuck exactly? I'm not sure. Not sure what you mean, Paul Muiruri. Can you provide some detail? What do you mean by stuck? Gladys, you look like you have leakage.
No, I'm not sure.
Okay. Paul Muiruri, let us know what you're talking about. No clue what you mean. Jitesh, hi Jitesh, Bekaria. Good to see your name on the screen again. Hope you've been well. Jitesh is tuning in, I guess, from YouTube.
Mm.
Yeah, so Jitesh says, greetings. You engage with a lot of professionals. How and what do you consider when negotiating their professional fees and scope of work? That's a great question, Jitesh. So it depends on their experience, obviously. The more experience you are, the better, which means the fewer mistakes you will make along the way. And some of those can be extremely costly, particularly if you have to repeat certain exercises like public participation hearings before you get planning approvals from a county. Those are expensive. If it's not done right because the professional is not experienced, you have to redo them. Costly both in terms of capital and time, because there are time requirements for gazettements. Sometimes it's 30 days, 60 days. You don't want to repeat those because it eats into your time. So experience is one. Number two, obviously, is their reputation in the market. That will definitely determine how aggressively I can negotiate their professional fees. And in addition, what they might demand as a minimum uh, fee to charge you. Scope of work is predetermined by what you need to do. If you need to do change of use, change of tenure, I mean that is self-descriptive. So scope of work, they will charge you based on what they need to do. Um, Above all, I will say for me, the third one is their likability. Do I like them? Because in some cases you'll be stuck and have to work with them for months on end. We had a horrible experience once in Laikipia County where we applied for change of use, a process that is supposed to take 60 days according to the Physical Land Use and Planning Act. We ended up taking 2.5 years because of frustrations during COVID. Government shutdowns contributed to delays. After the government shutdowns were lifted, we were dealing with corrupt county officials who were demanding bribes to progress, which we don't do. And we ended up in court to sue the county for what was rightfully ours because we were fully compliant with the PLUPA and the county policies. In that instance, if you don't like the professional that you're going to have to engage with for 2.5 years, it's going to be a nightmare. A lot of times they're going to have to go back and forth and do things for you on a moment's notice. Likability is important. It helps manage a lot of your interaction, including trust building. You need to be able to trust them. When they tell you that we went to the county office, they refused to issue the compliance certificate, and the reason is because they're asking for a bribe, or the fee is this, or the fee is that to the county. If there's no trust, it can be a nightmare because a lot of these professionals, unfortunately, are either corrupt themselves or are complacent and complicit with corrupt engagement with government offices. So trust is important. So for me, the third and most important is likability. Do you like them? Do they like you? Is your rapport good? Do you understand each other well? Do they understand your need in detail so that you have the most efficient process? Very important. So those are my thoughts, Jitesh, and I thank you for that question. Matumbo Special on TikTok. That's a very interesting name. Matumbo Special. With 400,000 Kenyan shillings, can I invest in a piece that will appreciate quickly? Ama ni story za jaba? Well, Matumbo Special, it depends on where you invest. What's your goal for investing in the first place? That's step number one that we recommend, is defining your goal. Why is it important to you that it appreciates quickly? Are you buying speculatively? Right? If you're watching us on Facebook and Twitter and where else?
YouTube.
LinkedIn and YouTube, you should see that colorful documents to your right if you're watching the screen. Step number 1, that's a Grand Acres checklist. 9 steps to buying land safely in Kenya. Absolutely free resource you can download from our website, which is www.grandacres.co.ke. Enter your name and email. It'll send you a free PDF copy. Amazing document. Step number 1, define your goal. If you're buying for speculative purposes, that will determine the rest of your journey. And by and large, yes, it's possible to buy land for 400K in certain parts of the country. In Westlands, you'll need 100 times that. Wait, 1,000 times. Yes. Or thereabouts, depending on the size you're buying. Price of land in Westlands today is somewhere around 400 million shillings per acre. So it will depend on your location as well. Thank you for your question. Do your homework and be clear about why you're investing. In theory, it is possible. Tidal wave on TikTok. Process of buying an apartment, exactly the same. Your documents might be different because most apartments, well, hopefully most today, are being produced under the Sectional Properties Act, which means each apartment gets its own separate title, which would be a lease title, certificate of title with a lease, renewable lease for 50 years if you're in Nairobi, maybe 99 elsewhere. The process is exactly the same. Your apartment is treated the same as a piece of land. Make sure you hire a licensed advocate to help you tidal wave. Don't try and do it on your own. Draft proper sale agreements, do your due diligence properly, and you should be okay. In case you're wondering, if you want an outline of that process, download our free checklist. As I just mentioned, it's on our website, www.grandacres.co.ke. Step number 6, hire a licensed advocate who will help you draft the sale agreement, which you will sign. But before all that, or along with all that, they will help you do your due diligence. Some of that is outlined very clearly on the document, so download it for free. Speak to an advocate, they can guide you on the rest of the process. Surveyor TM on TikTok. Kazi nzuri, keep educating the public. Thank you, Surveyor TM. I appreciate that. Steven799 on Instagram. Can you develop land with only a share certificate or ballot? Yes, you can if you want. I do not recommend that you do so because unless you have a title deed that is incontestable, you're gambling. You're gambling with your hard-earned capital or cash. Don't do it. Get a title deed first. People do it all the time. They build. Embakasi is full of plots where people have built with no title, share certificates and ballots. Same thing is happening in Kiambu County, just behind Kiambu town on your way to Miga. I forget the name of what the name of that area is. A lot of people are building palatial mansions on pieces of land that they have no title to because they have a share certificate or allotment letter. Horrible risk to take. I would not recommend you do that. Process the title first or wait until the title can be processed before you risk any more capital developing on the land. Why? Because in Kenya, there is a law that actually stipulates as precedence that establishes anything affixed to the soil belongs to the owner of the land. So if you're going to invest 10, 20, 30 million shillings building a home on a property that you don't own, either you're prepared to put that house on a pickup truck and live with it when your ownership is challenged, or demolish it. Neither scenario is good. So wait until you have a title, please. Don't say you weren't told, Stephen, and do your due diligence. Hamisi on Instagram. Thank you for tuning in, Hamisi. _Hamisi says, hi, Solo. Do you think investing in Nanyuki at the moment is a good thing to do with all the hype? Let's say a place 17 kilometers from town. Absolutely, _Hamisi. The hype simply means a lot of people, there's a lot of eyeballs on the area, and for good reason. That's usually a good sign of a place that has good potential. But it also means there's massively high likelihood of things going horribly wrong because of all the people involved, all the stakeholders, con men, legit people, illegal subdivisions, legal ones, no value addition, some value addition. So do your homework, do your due diligence, go and see the place, look, feel, smell, touch, meet the owner. There's no shortcuts. 17 kilometers from town is not too far. Our Acacia Cove project is actually about the same distance from town, about 17 kilometers. We're doing a residential compound there called Acacia Cove, half-acre plots with residential zoning, change of use done, title deeds ready, perimeter fence done, gatehouse about to be done. It'll be fully site and serviced, power, water, waste treatment, paved roads or cobblestone roads. If you're watching again on the platforms I mentioned before, you should be seeing the video playing on the right side of your screen. That's a gatehouse. That's a very different proposition from most of what is being offered in Nanyuki today, which is typically a few thorn bushes within a 50 by 100 lot of land for 300K. No power, no water, no sewer, no waste treatment, zero value addition. In some cases, even no beacons. So value is what it boils down to, _Hamisi. Do your homework, go look, feel, touch, and you should be fine. The hype shouldn't scare you. It's a good sign of a place to investigate, but do your investigation, and I wish you all success. If you're interested in joining Acacia Cove, there's only 23 or 24 plots remaining. Give us a call before they're gone. And you can find more details on our website. User 2384 on TikTok. Any idea how much 1 acre in Nanyuki near Olpajeta, Nanyuki will cost? What's fair? Okay, my first question to you, user 2384, is, do you know that Olpajeta, the conservancy, sits on about 92,000 acres? Think about that for a minute. Imagine the scale of space required to contain 92,000 acres. I'll give you a comparison. Nairobi CBD today sits on less than 450 acres. You're talking about 92,000 acres. That's 184 times the size of the CBD. Imagine how much space you have to cover from one end to the other. Why is that important? Because depending on what side of Opejeta you are, the price will vary because of what is next to it. If you're on the side of Sweet Waters, very different value proposition from the side of the British Army base or Kenya Air Force Base. If you're talking about the side past Ewasonyiro River, very different value proposition. The prices can range so drastically. So there is no such thing as how much 1 acre near Opajeta will cost. It depends. It depends on so many different things. So unless you can give me more details, I can't answer that question for you.
It's near Serrat Gate.
Serrat Gate would be the Sweetwater side, I'm guessing. Can you check on the map?
Okay.
Just Google Opajeta Serrat Gate. We usually call it Gate A or B. Those of us on the ground, we don't call them by their fancy names. I think Serat Gate is Gate A, if I'm not wrong, which is on the Rumuruti Road. No, if it's not the Rumuruti, it's a Sweetwater side. Very different value proposition. And that can vary by the millions. Also, in terms of what value addition there is on the 1 acre. Does it come with any amenities? Does it come with any utilities, power, water? Is it secured in terms of fencing? Right? So, best thing to do, user 2384, look around. So, Serat Gate is on the Rumuruti Road, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you're watching us on Facebook, it's also on the right side of the screen. Thank you, Georgie, for that quick action. Yeah, that's on the Rumuruti side. So an acre of land there will range anywhere. If you're in Ereri, for example, yeah, because opposite side of Rumuruti Road is Ereri. There are places in Ereri, just a couple of years ago, I could buy land for 120K per acre. Now, people on that side will claim it's near Opajeta. Fair enough. But on the complete opposite side of the Opajeta, which is strictly speaking in Nyeri County, the price is very different. And it's still near Opajeta. Now, if you go along the Rumuruti Road and cross the Wasonyiro River all the way towards Segera, there's people marketing land there saying it's near Opajeta. And they even call it Nanyuki when it's far from it, right? So you need to be deliberate about viewing the site, appreciating the nuances around amenities close by. What is the quality of the access road there? Is it an all-weather road? Is it a dirt road? Is it a tarmac road? What else is going on there? It'll depend. But
no amenities, no sewer, no water.
No amenities, no sewer, no water. On that side,
Ereri precisely.
Okay, we just bought some land there. In June of this year, we paid 800,000 shillings per acre. Okay, but we bought a big block of land. It's in the hundreds of acres. So also the size that you're buying matters. If you're buying a single 1 acre, I know companies there right now are selling. I think that's practically where Optiven is selling, right? And much love to Jojo Ashuri. He's a veteran in the business, has been doing it for 20-something years now. I think Optiven is selling 1 acre blocks for what?
Should be.
I saw some for 2.5. 2.5 million. With some Maram roads, they have done perimeter fence, and I think there's proximity to water. I know another company right now is selling for 2.2 million. Okay. In Ereri, you could probably buy for 500K or less per acre. But then again, how many acres are you buying at a time? Because it matters. If you're buying in bulk, the price is usually cheaper per acre. If you're buying subdivided lots, they are typically more expensive per unit. So look at all those factors. But if in doubt, at the end of the day, that's Optiven. Optiven is selling an acre for 2.89 million shillings today. Exactly where, just after the Serat Gate, actually. Actually, directly opposite. Directly opposite the Serat Gate on the Rumuruti Road. Very nice location, 2.8 million per acre, subdivided with title, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you're buying unsubdivided, price will be different because there are costs you will have to incur. So it depends. People ask me this all the time as if every acre is equal. Not all acres were made equal. And certainly human activity or intervention in the meantime has a massive, profound impact on the value. If you look at Mayan Resort today in Nanyuki, which is not even near Opajeta, It's like 7-8 kilometers, maybe 10 kilometers from Opajeta, right, towards Dol. They're selling eighths today for what, 6 million bobs, 3 million to 6 million, 8 million for a quarter, depending on which of their compounds you buy. 8 million for a quarter versus 2.8 million for a whole acre, 8 times the size. Why the vast difference? It depends on what else comes with it. Okay, but if you're looking at land, no value addition, has it been subdivided? Is it part of a larger block? I would say between 800 and 1.2 million shillings per acre is what you should expect. But if in doubt, send a valuer to do a valuation report for you, and you should be good to go. I hope that helps. User 2384 on TikTok. Okay, it's 7:49. We have 11 minutes to go. Send in your questions. I'd like to answer as many as possible in the allotted time. Observant Kanambo on TikTok says, how long does a green card take in Kikuyu? And is it a must you involve a lawyer in the search? Well, it's not a must that you involve a lawyer in the search, but it is way faster, a lot more efficient. Unless you have all that time to burn sitting on a wooden bench, waiting for someone to come back from lunch break or from leave, and then they tell you to come back in 4 days. Unless you have that time to burn, which I don't believe you do, because whatever expense you're trying to save is nothing compared to the value of the time you're going to waste waiting. Hire an advocate, please. Like, we need to get over this penny pinching mkonogama attitude where you want to save every penny. Look at the time value that it's going to cost you. Your time is the most important resource, most precious, most valuable resource you'll have. Get a lawyer to do it. They're way more efficient. Also, in my experience, if you try and do it on your own, you will be treated with extreme suspicion and even perceived to be a fraudster trying to access sensitive information from the registry. If a lawyer writes a formal letter on their letterhead with their LSK license number, they understand that this professional has pretext in their normal day-to-day activity to ask for a certified copy of the green card, and therefore they get faster responses. They also tend to have relationships with the registry, so stuff is done faster. So save yourself the trouble, pay the stupid 3,000 shillings it's going to cost you to pay a lawyer to get the certified copy of the green card and get it done right. How long does it take? Also depends. If you're doing it on your own, chances are it'll take days. If you get an advocate and they're very efficient and they have good relationships, it's a matter of half an hour or an hour or a day at most, or a couple of days at worst. It depends on who is doing it, and also depends on the efficacy of the registry in particular. We have had no experience with the Kikuyu registry yet, so I can't tell you exactly, but it doesn't have to. We've had green cards done in an hour. So get a licensed advocate to do that for you, pay them the fee, save yourself the time, and again, make sure they pay the fee to the cash office, obtain an original receipt, submit the duplicate with their letter and application request for the certified copy of the green card, and make sure that the copy provided you has indeed been stamped certified, and then you're good to go. That's an awesome question, Observant Kanambo. Thank you for sending it. Walt Balance VR12 on TikTok says, where is better to invest in tourism or hospitality? Kajiado County, Isinya, or Taita Taveta, Voi area? Ooh. So obviously I am not a hospitality expert, so my opinion is just my opinion. So the question, just for clarity, is where is it better to invest for tourism or hospitality? Is it Kajiado County around Isinya or Taita Taveta in the Voi area? My personal opinion, it's very subjective, is Taita Taveta Voi area would be better just because Taita Taveta is right next to the Tsavo. Tsavo East, Tsavo West are along that corridor, obvious tourism opportunities. Okay, so between those two locations, I go with Taita Taveta Voi area. It's a very long distance from Nairobi. So I'm assuming obviously here that you're based in Nairobi, which could be wrong. You have to think about your distance for management of that asset that you're trying to develop, because that also counts. If you're keen on Kajiado County rather than Isinya, I strongly recommend you consider Oloitoktok, Kimana area, or even Imbuko, where we're active at the moment, because we are just 42 kilometers in Imbuko, that is, just 42 kilometers from the Amboseli National Park. Obvious tourism and hospitality application. That corridor is well known for all the famous hotels around tourism because of the Amboseli National Park. So if you think about tourism and hospitality, I would say think about your proximity to a national park or a conservancy. In the case that you provided me between the two, I'd go for Taita Taveta Voi area. I hope that helps, Walt. All success to you. Okay, Sylvia Live Well on Instagram says, I was surprised to see you selling, I guess that's selling. I was surprised to see you selling 1/8 acres. I thought you were discouraging this. What changed? That's an awesome question, Sylvia Live Well. Yes, you're absolutely right. I still discourage people from buying 1/8 acres unless they have the proper zoning and amenities required. And if you will notice, Sylvia Live Well, we only have one project right now with 1/8 acres. That is our All Kekun project in Naivasha, touching the Naivasha Nakuru Highway, directly opposite the Safari Center, where there's a Naivas Art Cafe Market. That's one of the most prime locations in Naivasha. Also, that whole area predominantly exists as 1/8 residential lots, even though our particular block of land is one of the few with actual title deeds and will come with all the amenities: water, power, sewer, gatehouse, cobblestone roads, landscaping. You can see the details. If you're watching on those platforms, there's a video playing on the right side of the screen. That is our immediate neighbor across the road. They also front the highway just like we do. Okay, that is very different from the 50 by 100s you will typically find in the market today at anywhere from 200,000 to 700,000 shillings with zero amenities and with freehold agriculturally zoned titles, which, bluntly put, is thuggery. In most counties today, for you to densify land or fragment land to those sizes, 1/8 of an acre, you are required to provide amenities, minimum width of roads, supporting infrastructure, which a lot of people don't do, and therefore they sell them as freehold agriculturally zoned pieces of land, which, what are you going to do on a 1/8 acre agricultural land? You can't even build on it unless you do change of use, which is supposed to be done before you get the 1/8. So compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges, Sylvia. You will see there's a clear difference. So in that context, yes, we are marketing the most prime 1/8 acre parcels of land in Nakuru County today, in Naivasha, right on the highway, value-added parcels, starting from 9.99 million shillings, right? 8.99. I feel like bumping the price up. just because of Sylvia's question. I hope I've answered your question, Sylvia. Live well, but that's a great question. Um, if you're going to buy an eighth of an acre, make sure it's legit. It has an appropriate user or zoning. It's not freehold agricultural because that's illegal, to be blunt. Therefore, your due diligence has to be super tight. Don't go for affordability only. Sometimes cheap ends up being more costly. Thank you for that question. We have 2 minutes. We can answer one more. 3 missing Nyash. Miss Nyash. 3 Miss Nyash 8. Where? On Instagram. Okay. 3 Miss Nyash 8 on Instagram. Thank you for watching, first of all. Hello, Solomon and team. Thank you for the very informative platform. I bought land in Machakos and they did the special board in quotation marks. They did the special board thing where I did receive my title deed, certified RIM, and mutation form. Okay.
You can continue from there. So,
Okay, 3 missing Yash. Do you want to complete your question or did we miss something? Hello, Solomon and team. Thank you for the very informative platform. I bought land in Machakos and they did the special board thing where I did receive my title deed, certified RIM, and a mutation form. Okay. In the absence of further details, I suppose you might want to know if everything is okay since you got your title deed. First of all, let's establish again, special board is illegal. There is no such thing as special board. That is a completely illegal and corrupt arrangement where they either backdate or forward date your consent because you're paying slightly more than the 1,000 shillings it costs to apply to the special board to get your permission earlier than the next scheduled date. Now, even though you got your title deed, again, I would need more details about did they issue you a receipt for the special board sitting? The 1,000 shilling fee, even though you probably parted with more. Maybe you can tell us how much they charge you for that. The official fee is 1,000 bobs. If you paid more than that, clearly you are aiding and abetting corruption. Were you listed in the minutes for the actual board sitting? Do you have consent letters that were issued before or after the actual board sitting? Depending on what that looks like, 3 Missy Nyash 8, you may not be aware, but there's now legal precedence as determined by a Supreme Court ruling not too long ago, maybe 5 months ago, less than 5 months ago. We discussed it on this platform where it basically determined that if any part of the due process in transfer of land, or subdivision of land, in the production of a title deed was not fully followed, the title deed is deemed null and void if challenged. Okay, so even if you got your title deed and certified RIM and mutation form, if all the process internally were not followed and adhered to properly, and you have a complete paper trail, your title deed could be annulled and voided if someone challenged due process. Due process is very important. In fact, today it is more important than it ever has been in Kenya's history, precisely because of that Supreme Court ruling where there were two parties squabbling over the same piece of land. One was a SACCO or land buying group, the other was a private family who both claimed to have bought land from the original owner, neither of whom, even though they had original titles, neither of whom could prove they had followed due process. They couldn't provide sale agreements, they couldn't provide land board consents, booking, receipts, none of those little stupid little receipts, 500 bob, 2,000 bob, to prove that they had followed due process in acquiring ownership of this land. And the court determined that the land belongs to neither specifically because of that. And I believe in this case, the land was given back to the county. So due process is more important today than it ever has been. Hence our constant screaming about following due process. Do your due diligence, make sure everything was done right, and you yourself don't aid and abet unprocedural practices. Special boards are illegal. There's no such thing as a special board. So make sure your documents are okay. Have someone do an in-depth due diligence for you, so that you can have peace of mind that in the event of an audit of the file at the Ministry of Lands Registry, you will not be caught flat-footed. Awesome. Thank you for that question. It's now 3 minutes past 8. And because we respect time, because time is money and money buys land, I want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your precious Thursday evening to send in your questions and participate. I hope we've all learned something. Share, like, subscribe, give us a call, check out our website. Get busy about owning your piece of Kenya today and do it safely. Love you all. God bless.